Hello and welcome to the Get Real Football Experts podcast, preseason recap edition. I'm your host Louis DB along with Dave. Dave, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me, I guess I could say.
Yeah. So let's recap. Today is Sunday. All the games have been finished today. The Buffalo Bills faced the Indianapolis Colts, which was a good game, and we'll get into that
Yeah.
later. Obviously you're a Bills fan, so it was good things to see there. But we're gonna start off with the first game. We're gonna go game by game. The game started Thursday. 7:30 was the first game. It was the Super Bowl champion Baltimore Ravens taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and it was a pretty good game. Dave, give your thoughts on how Flacco and Freeman looked.
I thought it was good. I mean, I'm not overly excited about Flacco going in this year. I'm not going to be like, he won the Super Bowl next year, now he's going to win again. Oh, he's elite and all that stuff. But I mean, he looked fairly good. Bernard Pierce is who I thought looked very good. I mean, he's been very hyped up over the past few over the past few months, and he delivered. He had a touchdown, so he looked good. But what do you think about him?
I thought honestly I thought he looked really good, but the guy I liked was Ray Rice. He had two catches for some big yards and also picked up a couple of first downs. I thought he looked really good, and they're going to really implant him as the main focal point of this offense with the lack of receivers. But then again, you see Joe Flacco there with the interception,
Yeah,
forced a couple throws, but honestly, he actually looked pretty good besides that play. The offensive line kind of struggled a bit, but I thought it was a pretty good outing, especially for the defense. Chris Canty got a sack with his first team. Marcus Huff looked very good in coverage, as well as Matt Elam. So some good stuff there, but the guy I really liked was later in the game, Tyrod Taylor. The backup quarterback kind of gave some assurance to the Ravens to make sure that they have a very solid backup. He finished with two touchdowns and over 100 yards passing, and he also had over 30 rushing yards. He finished with 27 rushing yards, 154 yards, and two touchdowns. So that was the one thing I liked a lot.
yeah. I thought it was a good game. It was interesting to see. I like seeing Mike Glennon. Just mentioned him see it as he comes right up. But yeah, I mean, Glennon could be the future of the Buccaneers if the Freeman doesn't produce this year and they end up to part ways with him and start Glennon the next year. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Glennon can do throughout the whole preseason.
How do you think Josh Freeman did?
I thought he did all right. I mean, it's not like Freeman doesn't have high expectations to live up to, but he has been a very solid QB over the past few years. So, I mean, I thought he played not too well, but not being disappointing anyway. So Freeman's just being Freeman as usual, I guess I could say.
That's true. I mean, I think Mike Glennon. I mean, there were some good things that came from it, but he also had an interception. So,
Hmm.
but it's his first game as a rookie. His first ever pass was a 60-yard bomb, and he moved up the pocket, showed some mobility, which I liked. But I thought they saw some good things from the Buccaneers defense with that sack from Rod. I just forgot his name, but I like the pass rush. Daquan Bowers looked very good in the second half, as well as the secondary. I thought looked really good. So let's move on from that, and let's now go to the Redskins versus the Tennessee Titans.
Hmm.
So it was a really good game. Jake Locker did get the start. RG3 did not play. Dave, give your thoughts on how Kirk Cousins and Jake Locker did. We'll start off with the quarterbacks. How do you think they looked? And the final score was 22-21. The Redskins did win after a Pat White game-winning score. Give
Yeah.
give your thoughts on the quarterback play and how some other players looked with the Titans and Redskins.
Well, good point. First, I'll start out talking. I guess I could start about Kirk Cousins. I mean, he has people really like him. He did good in the one game he started last year against the Browns. But he went 6 for 7 with 52 yards and touchdown. So I mean, I think he did pretty good. But clearly, the more interesting part is going over to Jake Locker and talk about him a little bit. He's got Ryan Fitzpatrick right behind him. So if he doesn't produce, Fitz will come in. He was a former Bill last year, so I know a lot about him. Locker went 7 for 11 with 58 yards. Not bad.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Not great. I mean, Jeff Toole today only had the same amount of incomplete passes and double amount of passes attempted.
It's true.
So, I mean, but Jeff Toole was amazing today for the Bills, third string quarterback. But the real impressive part about this game was the Tennessee's running game and the running backs. Chris Johnson had 2 rushes for 60 yards. He's averaging 30 yards a carry, and he had one 58-yard touchdown run, and the other one was a 2-yard rush. But also, Sean Green had a touchdown, 19-yard rush. So their Tennessee's running game looked great, and that's a really good sign for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think what I liked seeing from it was the running game as well, the tandem that they both produced. But the one thing I want to see is Chance Warmack, as they showed here. He did have some good things, but he struggled a little bit. As long as they can have that offensive line assured. I was also interested, actually, coincidentally, Pat White, who's battling for that third spot with Rex Grossman, looked terrific running the read option, as you can see. He led 2 really clutch drives down the field, as you can see right here, to tie the game up and then go for the win, which is the 2-point conversion. He looked really clutch. He has not played, I believe he has not started a game since 2007 with the Dolphins, when he played with the Dolphins. Very interesting to watch him play. He's really going to push Rex Grossman, to me, I personally think.
Yeah. So it was a good game, and like I said, the highlight of that game was the 2 running games. So do you think? I mean, clearly I don't want to overact and be like Chris Johnson back and all that jazz. But do you think that Johnson's going to continue to play like this through the preseason and into the regular season?
Oh, sorry. What'd you say? Who? Just give me
Chris
repeat
Johnson?
that. Chris Johnson. I mean, I'm not really sure because of what Sean Green did. I mean, do you honestly think that Sean Green is going to take some of the short yardage carries? Because if that's the case, then I'm kind of scared for his touchdown production. But if he posts off yards like that, I think he's going to continue that throughout the season with that great offensive line.
Chris Johnson's one of the most. He is I bet if you look it back, he probably has the most 50-plus yard runs last year or something like that. Because he's a very explosive runner, and that's how he gets a lot of yards through those big plays.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think obviously that, and plus he's going to be a big part of the receiving game. A guy that I didn't really see much of was Delanie Walker, and I'd like to see just a little more of him during the preseason. Obviously, it's just the preseason, but the Titans, Jared Cook, I mean, he had so much potential, and they really didn't get it out of him. And now he's in St. Louis, so I just want to see a little more from Delanie Walker. But I don't know, I thought it was a good game to take from both sides, and I thought Cousins for the Redskins looked very good.
You know who Delanie Walker kind of reminds me of?
Who?
Matt Flynn, in a way. Like, he only has shown a little bit, which has been good.
He's seen in flashes, yeah, true.
And now he's going off and getting a big contract. And, I mean, that's the thing. We've only seen him in a very small role with the 49ers, so I don't know if he is ready or good enough to be a starting every down tight end for the Titans.
That is true. I mean, they did let Jared Cook go, and so they kind of took a chance with Delanie Walker. But after Kaepernick started, at the end of the regular season, Delanie Walker had better stats than Vernon Davis. So I mean, that, like you said, you've seen him in bunches of, I mean, where you've seen him in a certain amount of game, but at the same time he's really produced. So that's a good point. How he reminds you of Matt Flynn, who, by the way, in Oakland, we'll talk about him later. Let's get to the Cleveland Browns versus the St. Louis Rams. The third game on the slate from that Thursday night. Finished Cleveland won 27-19. Jeff Fisher in his second year. Chud Sozinski as the first-year coach. Brandon Weeden looked very well, Dave. Just give your thoughts on Brandon Weeden and also Sam Bradford for the Rams.
Well, I'm not a big Brandon Weeden fan, never have been, ever since I watched him at the draft. I think I already mentioned that, but I mean, yeah, he looked good this year, better than he looked last year. So did Greg Little, the receiver. I mean, the Browns were pretty impressive to me, better than I would expect them to be. So do I think they can continue to do this through the season? No, but definitely does bring something interesting up.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I kind of liked Brandon Weeden. He finished 10 for 13, 112 yards and a touchdown. I thought he looked very well. I think Deion Lewis, the running back who started over Trent Richardson as Trent Richardson was hurt, did not play. I thought he would look great. He finished with 5 for 12 yards, but he also, in the receiving game, had 3 for 22 and a touchdown. I thought he looked very good. Sam Bradford, I thought, was pretty good. I thought he really got Chris Gibbons involved during the game, who finished with over 80 yards, 3 receptions, and a touchdown.
Yeah, that was good too.
But I didn't really see much from Tavon Austin, did you? I really wasn't watching out for him all that much, but the main focal guy I saw was Chris Gibbons.
No, not much from Tavon Austin. I don't know if he might have had one reception, but who looked pretty good was the running backs of St. Louis. All
That's true.
Solid, but all good. I mean, we've seen running backs like Steven Jackson ran 5 times and only got 8 yards. They were all pretty good running games. So I like to see who wins out there. I mean, it looks like Daryl Richardson's going to be the number one guy there. He had 4 carries for 24 yards.
Yeah.
Then Isaiah Pete had 3 carries for 18 yards. Zach Stacy had 7 carries for 23 yards. So Daryl Richardson, who's most likely going to be the starter, looked the best, but they all look good. So that's a good sign for the Rams.
Yeah, I really like the Rams' defense, too. I thought their secondary looked very well with Janoris Jenkins and Cortland Finnegan. The guy I really liked, though, was Alec Ogletree, their first-round pick from Georgia. Looked very well stopping the run. I thought he looked really good.
Yeah.
But just how do you think the Rams defense looked? Just give your take on that real quick, but also the pass rush with Chris Long and Robert Quinn.
Well, I mean, it definitely looks improved. I mean, the defense really isn't the problem in St. Louis. It's more their offense, and that didn't seem to be a problem either. I mean, because last year the Rams' defense was pretty good.
Oh
It
yeah.
still is good this year. Now they added more pieces on the offense, so I mean they lost a lot too. What do you think the Rams are going to do this year?
I mean, it's tough because of how much you see with the NFC West. I mean, the Cardinals look great this week. I mean, the 49ers and Seahawks, you know what they did last year. They're all improved. A 7-8 win team. I mean, I think that's close. They have the firepower. They definitely have the pieces in play to make a big impact. I personally believe, but they're just in a tough division, a tough case. But I definitely think they're going to push for a wild card spot. And I'm kind of basing it off of if the Vikings can do what they did with like pretty much one player really leading them, the Rams are a complete team. And that's why I think, like, how many wins margin do you think? Around 7 or 8, or where do they make the playoffs?
Well, 7 or 8 is where they were at last year. I think they had or 8-8.
They did tie, so 7-8-1, I believe
7-8
it
and 1.
was.
Wait, oh yeah, they tied. No,
They tied the 49ers.
is that them?
Yep.
It's the Rams, wasn't it? They were undefeated in the division.
They had the 49ers number last year.
And Seahawks.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could see them going 9-7, and a few years back that would get them in the division win for them, and maybe even a wild card spot like the Giants were 9-7 when they hit the wild card and won the Super Bowl. But and this NFC is just too dominant to have a 9-7 team in the wild cards. But I think 9-7 is a good record. I think they'll be like that.
I agree with you around that margin. So let's go to the next game. It was the national game of the day, where the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Atlanta Falcons. Final score was 34-10. The Bengals took it, Dave. Andy Dalton and Matt Ryan both looked really good. You had Steven Jackson, the new running back, starting. James Harrison back into with first game with the Cincinnati Bengals. How do you think the Falcons offense looked first with Steven Jackson in the running game?
Yeah, we'll start with Steven Jackson. He really didn't look that good. 5 rushes for 8 attempts, or 5 attempts for 8 yards. So I mean, you can interpret that how you want. He didn't really look too fast breaking out. I mean, that's what you told me. We were talking about it yesterday. That's what you said. But quick talk about fantasy here. I wouldn't be too worried about him in fantasy. And I'm not worried about it. Still think he's going to put up big numbers. He's going to be a huge contributor to the Falcons team. But then when we go on to Matt Ryan, he looked good as well. I mean, last year was his best numbers of his career. He didn't look that bad. I mean, still think he's going to be. I mean, Julio Jones didn't play that game, and neither did Tony Gonzalez. So those are 2 of his biggest weapons gone. But I mean, still 6 for 9 with 89 yards, not bad. So yeah, he looks solid. He didn't have a lot to prove. Didn't have a lot of time to prove himself. So.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. The guy, Harry Douglas broke that big screen pass, but the guy I liked was backup quarterback for the Bengals, Josh Johnson. I'll talk to him about first, but first I want to talk about Dalton. I thought he looked pretty good. I mean, they ran a lot of bootlegs. I thought they really got the tight end. They gave a lot of 2 tight end looks with Tyler Eifert and Jermaine Gresham, and as well as also, I mean, I like Giovanni Bernard, who had only 20 yards, but he had a touchdown, and I like that they gave him the ball a lot. I thought that was pretty good. But again, I thought Josh Johnson looked great. I thought that, he looked poised. I think he's definitely beating John Skelton out for the starting job, for the backup job. He looked great. He had over 100 yards. He had exactly 100 yards passing, a touchdown, and over 48 yards rushing. So I thought he looked pretty good. What do you think about the Bengals defense with James Harrison and Geno Atkins? How do you think they looked?
Yeah, I thought they looked good. I mean, Geno Atkins is, in my opinion, underrated. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the league. And speaking of underrated, I think the Bengals are a really underrated defense. Probably definitely a top 10 defense in my opinion. And that's a big piece. I mean, when you think of Bengals, you think of AJ Green, and they've been a playoff team the past 2 years. And I'm just adding James Harrison is only going to help more. I think they have a great defense, and they're going to be another, in my opinion, division winner this year. So.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I agree with you. I think Geno Atkins looked really good. I think Drake Kirkpatrick is going to play a huge role in this team. Last year, he did not really play at all on the defensive side. Again, another great story for the Falcons defense was Brian Banks coming in after he was falsely accused of rape in the 3rd degree, I believe, and came in jail. And now he's coming to the Atlanta Falcons. He looked pretty good from when he played. And I also think that O.C. Umenyiora is going to play a huge role for the Falcons defense. I think they need that pass rush. They lost Jonathan Abraham. They also have Desmond Trufant on the outside, which is a young new secondary, with as well as Robert Alford, who looked actually really good. So
Yeah, well, yeah, I highly suggest, if you didn't already, if you want to know more about Brian Banks, that you should definitely go find the Rich Eisen podcast. Brian Banks, when he comes on and says all about his experience and all that. It's a very interesting podcast. Just dig it up. It's a ways down now, but still very interesting, worth listening to.
those podcasts are really long.
Yeah, but
That's the best one I've ever listened to.
oh, yeah,
All right, so let's get to the next game, which is probably the best game of the night. Well, as of maybe a Super Bowl preview, and it is the Broncos versus the San Francisco 49ers.
the score was 10-6.
Well, yeah, it was bad because the backups are bad, but it was I mean, I thought it was interesting to watch Colin Kaepernick versus Peyton Manning. Dave, how do you think Colin Kaepernick did with his first game as a full-time starter for the 49ers?
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is. It's rocking.
Oh, well, he looked good. 4 for 4, 38 yards. I mean, couldn't have asked better from that. I mean, 4 passes, 4 receptions. So, I mean, he looked good as he did when he left mid-season last year. So, I mean, Peyton Manning, he was a lot worse. 2 for 4 with 13 yards. So, I mean, Kaepernick played better, but Peyton's better. But
Debatable.
Debatable?
Yeah.
No, it's not debatable.
For now, it's not.
No, it's not. That's like saying, well, Jeff Toole and Peyton
Why are you
Manning,
bringing this guy up? All right.
he's a beast. Well, Jeff Toole could be good down the road, so it's debatable, but not right now.
True.
Or that girl. Oh my God.
All right, so I want to talk about the Broncos running backs because it's starting to look like the Saints, where it's running back by committee with Monty Ball, Ronnie Hillman, who is named the starter, and Noshawn Moreno. None of them really were all that flashy. Demaryius Thomas, by the way, the receiver, had 1 reception for 7 yards. Wes Welker had no receptions, but Ronnie Hillman finished 3 carries for only 9 yards. Noshawn Moreno finished 6 for 23, averaging 3.8 yards per carry, and Monty Ball only finished 5 for 9. So none of them really flashy numbers. Noshawn Moreno looked the best. Dave, who do you think is going to come out on top out of all of these guys? And I mean, I personally think Monty Ball, but who do you think is going to make the most impact at running back for the Broncos?
Most impact, I think it's going to be Monty Ball, but I do think it's still going to be that committee at backfield throughout the season. Probably you'll see Moreno drift away, but Monty Ball will eventually keep getting more and more reps. But I think him and Hillman could be a great running back duo. So, I mean, I think that answers your question.
Yeah, another guy I want to talk about is the 49ers tight end Vance McDonald, who's going to be coming in for Delaney Walker. And by the way, there's Sean Phillips picking up a touchdown his first game with the Denver Broncos, coming over from San Diego, who's going to be replacing Ellis Dumerville. Vance McDonald's replacing Delaney Walker, which is a pretty big role, as they like to run a lot of two tight end sets. He finished four receptions for 66 yards and looked actually pretty good. That's a really thing I like. And also Nnamdi Asomugha looked pretty good. He had a couple hard hits, including this one right here with San Francisco. Dave, how do you think he's going to do with his first year in San Fran after coming off 2 really bad seasons in Philadelphia?
Oh, I think the pressure's off now. I mean, he has the best defense in the league around him. Great corner, great secondary. Dante Whitner in the secondary, in safety. Carlos Rogers. I mean, Nnamdi's not even the number 1 corner anymore.
No.
So there's all the pressure's off him. So I think he'll definitely impress.
Yeah, I think this gives him more of a chance to, prove himself, because now no one's really expecting him to come in and make a huge impact. I think this is now a make it or break it year for Nnamdi, and I think he's going to take advantage of it. I mean, I'm a little pulled from him based on what he did in Philadelphia, but I think a lot of it was scheme in Philadelphia, too. I don't think he fit it. I don't think Juan Castillo and Andy Reid did enough to adjust to his skills, and maybe that's what San Francisco can do with John Harbaugh and what that defense really is about, and it's more than just the secondary, because they have, to me, the best defense in the league. That's it with the Broncos and 49ers. Also, Colt McCoy didn't really do much, Dave. Do you think any backup for the 49ers looked all that good?
No, not really. I mean, Colt McCoy was the only guy who came in. But I mean, he's
well, and that CJ Tolson guy.
Oh, he did. I didn't watch this game.
Yeah, they don't have good backup quarterbacks.
So, but Colt McCoy, yeah, he's not gonna do much unless Kaepernick gets hurt. But I think he's gonna be a good backup here. For definitely one of the best backups in the league, I guess I could say. But Kaepernick, I mean, that's really who you got to worry about this year for the 49ers at quarterback position.
Better backup quarterback, Colt McCoy or Brady Quinn, 49ers or Seahawks. Colt McCoy? Okay.
What do you say?
After watching Seattle Chargers, I might say Brady Quinn. That's just my opinion. Let's get to that game right now. Seattle Seahawks took on the San Diego Chargers in San Diego. Russell Wilson returning to his home city. Russell Wilson did not have Sidney Rice, obviously, or Percy Harvin playing. Phillip Rivers coming in with Janario Alexander just tearing his ACL. Dave, how do you think Phillip Rivers looked in his first game with the new-look Chargers?
Well, I feel like Phillip Rivers has been on the decline for the past few seasons. But, I mean, he looked all right. I mean, he's not like he used to be considered top 10 QB. Now he's kind of moved away from that, but he still looks pretty good. What was the final score of this game?
31-10. So the Seahawks won.
Yeah, but so he really didn't do that good. But Phillip Rivers just being wrong, but Russell Wilson is who I'm more interested about. I mean, coming off that halfway decent preseason last year, right? Halfway decent.
Yeah.
But no, I mean he's proven himself this year. Russell Wilson, he went 2 for 6 with 23 yards, so he's kind of doing the opposite of what he did last year. Didn't really impress this year, but he also got more playing time.
Plus, the numbers really don't tell what he did. Like, look at this in the pocket, though. He didn't have much to work with, I thought.
Yeah.
I mean, he made some good moves with his legs, I thought.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Manti Te'o for San Diego didn't really make a name.
Why did I freeze? Alright, just continue.
Okay. Come on, Dave. Manti Te'o didn't really make a name for himself. Giving me a dirty look. But this is what I like about Brady Quinn. I thought the backup quarterbacks for the Seahawks did well. Brady Quinn had over 60 yards passing and a touchdown. But Tavares Jackson actually did really good. He had over 100 yards passing and had 2 touchdowns. So he looked really good, I thought. And the Seahawks really made it rain on the Chargers. The Chargers backups did not look all that good at all, in my opinion. I kind of liked what the Seahawks backup defensive lineman did. I thought they made a name for themselves. Also, Christian Michael, their backup running back, since Marshawn Lynch did not play, did really good. And personally, in my opinion. All right, let's go to the next game. Friday, the first game was the Jets versus the Detroit Lions, and the Jets are in a quarterback battle between Geno Smith and Mark Sanchez. The final score, the Jets put it on the Jaguars. Jaguars only finished with 3 points. Actually, I'm sorry, that's the Jaguars. I'm thinking the Lions. 26-17 was the final score. Dave, how do you think Ziggy Ansah on the Lions defense looked against the Jets?
Well, they just said Ziggy Ansah had picked off Mark Sanchez and brought it back to the house. Ziggy Ansah looked good. He was the 5th overall pick this year by the Detroit Lions, so that's always good. And I know someone who said he's going to be a huge bust. I don't want to name names, but Emery Hunt.
Calling out football game plan. It's
that?
true. Yes, I do remember that.
That was back before we would get real.
Yeah.
And he said that anyone who drafts Ziggy Ansah in the top 10 will be in the top 10 for a while.
That was kind of a bold statement, and I think he missed on that, right? I mean, his first play, he pick 6. Mark Sanchez finished with 10 for 13, 125 yards, a pick 6, and a touchdown. Dave, did he make a bigger step than Geno Smith, who had finished 3 for 5, 45 yards, but then tweaked his ankle? How do you think this is playing out? Because I think Sanchez looked pretty good when he played, but the turnovers are one of the biggest concerns.
Yeah, the turnovers just continued this game with that Ansah interception. But, I mean, we didn't see enough from Geno Smith. We'll see more from him when he gets healthy. He'll probably end up playing full halves and maybe even more like EJ Manuel played today. He played the whole first half of the Bills, but I mean, there's really not much to say about Geno Smith right now. He's only throwing 5 times. And Sanchez, I mean, he hasn't looked that great. I mean, he still threw a pick, so.
Yeah, I think personally, the one thing I didn't like was looking at the Jets running game without Chris Ivory, who did not play. Nobody was there that actually produced. And there's the play that Geno Smith tweaks his ankle. He still is limping. They're saying in practice. There it is. It comes down pretty. Yeah, he comes down pretty hard on that. But he's looking to be okay. Bilal Powell finished 9 carries, 14 yards, averaging only 1 yard every carry. Moses Madu, another just deep guy, only 3 for 12. John Griffin, 1 for 9. Yeah. Yeah. So none of the running games stepped up, and I think this makes a big step for Chris Ivory. Calvin Johnson will finish 3 for 58, so that connection between him and Stafford looks pretty decent. Also, Reggie Bush. Dave, how do you think Reggie Bush looked in his first, as well as how yeah, so give me your thoughts on Reggie Bush and how he looked in his limited time playing.
Well, I mean, we didn't see too much from Reggie Bush, but he had 3 carries for 5 yards, so that's all right. Did he have any receptions?
No, he didn't.
So, I mean,
Joey Bell at 4 for 36, though.
I mean, he didn't really see much from what Joey Bell.
Joey Bell's continuing to impress. I'm telling you, I like this guy. He's really good.
I guess but Reggie Bush is still the clear-cut guy, and Michael Shore is the second guy. So
Reggie Bush made that one athletic play, though.
All right.
Right here. I mean, look at that. I mean, I think he's going to bring electricity to this offense. That's really going to help the passing game. That was pretty good. And the final score was 26-17. The backups, I think, for the Lions made a good spot. Sean Hill, the backup quarterback, continues to impress you. I think he's one of the most underrated. I think he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. He always looks good when he's in there. I think so.
QB?
Who?
Kevin Cobb.
Nope.
Yeah.
That's not it.
That is it.
I think Sean Hill.
No, Sean.
I think so. Or whoever the Eagles' backup quarterback is.
Oh, no.
What about Tim Tebow?
He's the third string.
Best third string in the league? I think
so.
so.
Definitely. Maybe Jeff Toole.
I don't know. Dennis Dixon.
Jeff Toole.
Best fourth string. All right. Yeah, we'll get into him. Just hang on. We're almost there. Let's go. So
Jeff Toole could start for the Jaguars.
Jeff Toole. Anybody can start for the Jaguars.
All right, fine. Jeff Toole could start for the Eagles.
No. Not even close.
All right. I bet he had better stats than all of you guys combined.
I don't think so.
I think so.
We'll get to that during the Bengals game. But just talk a little bit about what you think this Jets defense is going to look with the young secondary and also Sheldon Richardson coming in. Just before we get into the next game, just give a little insight on the Jets defense because that's going to be the main part of that team.
Yeah, I mean their offense doesn't have much. They don't have a lot of weapons other than Chris Ivory. And if Sanchez starts, that's a whole nother headache. But yeah, I mean they lost Darrell Revis, and they still have Antonio Cromartie. He's really been working in the shadows of Revis, and he's a top 10 corner, maybe even top 5, or like 6 or 7 around there probably. So I think their defense will do just fine, but the offense is the real problem.
All right, so let's get to the next game. It was Jaguars versus Dolphins, another 7:30 game. This is not it. The wrong film. If you guys want to see a little old David Garrard, that's not it.
They were still working on this whole highlights thing.
It's a work in progress, people. I'm getting there. All right, I got it. I got the highlights.
All right, so for those of you who are listening to this via GetRealFootball.com or GetRealPodcast.com, we play highlights on our YouTube page right here. So if not, just ignore the fact that we're talking about highlights here and just listen. So.
Good point. All right, so let's talk about the Jaguars and the Miami Dolphins. Final score was 27-3. Ryan Tannehill got some good time in here. Both new jerseys, though. How do you think the Jaguars jerseys looked?
Well,
that's really all you can talk about with the Jaguars.
The Jaguars have better jerseys than the Dolphins, but they're both nice.
They are very good. I like both of them.
I mean, those are nice jerseys. They're way better than the 49ers classic jerseys. What do you make that face?
Shook the camera. This is a work in progress.
Yeah, because you can usually make that face and go unnoticed, but
this is true.
Yeah, but how'd Lamar Miller do in this game?
Lamar Miller finished with 2 carries for 6 yards, both for 3 yards. So,
all right.
If you can do the math. Nope. Yep, that's right. Average 3 yards a carry. So math, people.
Easy math.
But I thought Ryan Tannehill looked actually pretty good. Finished 5 for 9, 75 yards, and touchdown to Dustin Keller, who I think he's going to look at a lot this year. Blaine Gabbert and Chad Henne really, I don't think either one made that big of an impact. Dave, how do you think the quarterback battle for the Jaguars looking? Again, they only finished with 3 yards.
Well, it should definitely, not a doubt in my mind about it. It should definitely be Blaine Gabbert here.
Definitely?
No, not Blaine Gabbert. It should definitely not be Blaine Gabbert.
Oh, okay.
All right. He went 8 for 11 with 87 yards, and Blaine Gabbert went 5 for 10 with 19 yards in a pick.
Ugh, neither one good.
That's Mike Kafka kind of numbers.
It is. What did Mike Kafka finish with?
4 for 8, 19 yards.
He got picked off.
Wait, hold on.
He got picked off. So we're coming NFL incoming news. So we'll get to that once Dave comes back. As you can see, he froze. But I don't think either Jaguar made a big step.
Agreement Dallas Clark.
That's a good signing. Ravens signed Dallas Clark. They also signed Brandon Stokely today.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two big weapons. That's pretty big. Both veteran receivers. That's two really good acquisitions.
Right.
But I don't think either Jaguar made a huge step at all. I think that Chad Henne I think he's the best option, but I think they're gonna give Blaine Gabbert one more shot. But he looked bad too. He got picked off. None of them looked good. The receiving core. The defense in the
should be Henne. All right, so we'll move on to the next game now.
Okay, so let's get to the next game where it was Philadelphia Eagles versus the New England Patriots. Final score 31-22. The Patriots take it. Dave, how do you think Tom Brady and the Patriots offense looked without some key weapons there?
I think Brady looked fine. The running game looked really good. A sleeper, I guess you could say, LeGarrette Blount. He had a 51-yard touchdown run in and then another touchdown later on in the game. So he looked good, really good. The whole running back duo looked good, or tandem looked good. So that's a good sign. Because they're going to have to make up some ground for the receiving core.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Ridley looked really good with that 62-yard run on a touchdown. With that touchdown was pretty good. From the Eagles, though, I took a lot from that offense. I thought they looked really good. Michael Vick finished 4 for 5, 94 yards, and a touchdown. He looked great with the read option and getting the ball out quickly. Nick Foles had the one fumble, but then he looked really good as well. He had 45 yards, a 60-yard touchdown drive, though. He looked really good with the read option. Also had a run for 11 yards, showing some mobility. Dave, how do you think the Eagles' defense looked? They really struggled against this running and passing game.
Yeah, that's what the Eagles did. They didn't really touch on that in the draft. They could have. A lot of people talked about them getting Deion Jordan, but he went third overall right ahead of them, the Dolphins. So, they helped up their offensive line here, but they also lost some pieces. Who they lose on the defensive line?
Colin Jenkins and Jason Babin, they're both gone.
And Babin. So, those are going to be big losses. Of course, they lost the three huge corners last year in Dominic Rodgers-Cromartie, Nnamdi Asomugha, who we talked about earlier, and Asante Samuel earlier in the year. So.
Yeah, I think the defense, it's a transition to 3-4. There's a bunch of new pieces. Patrick Chung looked really good, I thought, and so did Bradley Fletcher, but yeah, it was tough with the interior defensive ends, really did struggle, but Vinny Curry, like you show here, had a really good game. He had a half a sack and 3 tackles and 2 for a loss. I thought he looked pretty good, but what I took from the offensive line, I thought the offense looked great. And like you said, they didn't really address a lot of the defense, but they did in the third round take Benny Logan, the defensive tackle. Looked really good, had that other half a sack, 4 tackles, 3 for a loss, a forced fumble. Looked really good, I thought, and sound. I also liked Lane Johnson on the offense. Today, Chip Kelly said in his press conference, he was the most consistent guy after watching film. He said he was the best looking offensive lineman, and there's Benny Logan and Vinny Curry there. The whole interior defensive line is a shift. The second teams look good, but the first team really struggled. Dave, how do you think, though, rookie quarterback Matt Barkley looked in his first action?
Well, I don't think he's going to start there in Philadelphia. I personally think it's going to be Mike Vick. And if not him, Nick Foles. But, for the most part, I don't think he looked that bad. You would know the stats most likely.
He finished 11 for 22, 113 yards, and a touchdown.
So, that's pretty good. So, how long did he play?
He played the half the second quarter and the entire third, so he got a lot of playing time.
Yeah, so looked pretty good. For the first time in the NFL. Yeah,
How do you think Tebow looked?
Like Tim Tebow.
Good, agreed. I think so too. But I liked what Barkley started off slow, but I really thought once they did the no huddle, he really kicked off and really started doing good. On that touchdown drive, he was 5 for 5 and had that screen pass to Greg Sales for a touchdown, who, by the way, I think is going to really – I think out of everyone made the biggest case for him getting on this roster. I think he's now leading over Ife Animoma and Russell Shepard for that last receiver spot. So that's with the Eagles and Patriots. It was a pretty good game, I thought, personally. There's a lot of stuff. The first team's tied 14-14 before both teams brought in the second. Injury update, Ryan Mail had a concussion. He has not practiced. Eagles long snapper John Dorenbos also had a concussion. The Eagles picked up a guy today with that. Cardinals-Packers, another preseason game. That was Friday. Eddie Lacy did not play. Carson Palmer looked pretty good, though, Dave.
Yeah, he did, definitely.
Threw a touch on Andre Roberts, so you saw some good stuff from that. Then Bears-Panthers was also Cam Newton threw an interception, but then hit a touchdown on the red zone to Brandon LaFell. I think you agree that Brandon LaFell is a huge piece to this Panthers' success this year in the offense.
Yeah, he's a rising star, and it's going to be interesting to see how he does this year. Steve Smith's getting old, and they don't really have many other pieces in the offense or receiving core for them.
And then the Chiefs versus the Saints was the other game. By the way, the Bears did take that game. Wait, no, I believe the Bears won that game. The final score was 24-17 Panthers. And then the other game, the Chiefs versus the Saints, new look. Chiefs with Alex Smith and Andy Reid looked really good, getting the ball out quickly. There's a lot of quick passes to Jamal Charles and Tony Moisaki. So the Chiefs look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And I could see them squeezing them as a wild card this year.
I definitely agree. I mean, they have so many pieces on defense. I think they're ready to win now, personally. And then the other two games Friday were Texans Vikings, where you saw some really good stuff from both DeAndre Hopkins, who caught a touchdown, and Cordero Patterson.
That was like a 30-yard touchdown or something like that.
Yeah, it was really good from TJ Yates. So I think he's really ready to be the opposite guy of Andre.
Yeah, I agree with that point.
And the other game, final score for the Raiders Cowboys was 19-17 Raiders. Matt Flynn played a little bit of the game, not that much. Terrell Pryor had a really good, he started off really fast, but then he had a bad interception in the end. He finished 6 for 10, 88 yards and a pick. Matt Flynn finished 4 for 5, 37 yards. Dave, you think still Matt Flynn has the edge in the starting quarterback job?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. Plus, Terrell Pryor he did have 3 carries for 31 yards, averaging
10.3.
I don't like math. And then, so those were the Friday games. And then there's 2 weekend games, and the first one was Giants versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dave, give your take on a little bit on how the Giants' offense looked with Victor Cruz and now David Wilson as their new starting running back.
Well, Wilson looked good. Him and Andre Brown looked good, and that's what it's going to be this year for the running back duo. But one thing I liked was to look at David Wilson. He looked better blocking than he did last year, and also he looks like a fast runner. But Victor Cruz caught a 57-yard pass in the touchdown bomb from Eli Manning, so that chemistry is still there. And also, their defense looked just as good. They blew up the Steelers early, and rookie DeMontre Moore, defensive end, had a pump block. So things look good for the Giants so far.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. The big Victor Cruz touchdown was a good thing to see. Pittsburgh Steelers offense, Le'Veon Bell did not play. He was a guy I was really looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
But Isaac Redmond did start the game, but I think Laurent Stevens-Howland looked. I know you were talking. He looked impressive. I thought he was the best looking guy on that offense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that was it was pretty good. I thought Ben Roethlisberger managed his weapons really good. I think Marcus Wheaton had honestly, I think he's going to be a big piece of this offense coming in for Mike Wallace. He's now the third guy behind Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders. Marcus Wheaton did finish the night with not a stellar game. He only had 1 catch for 8 yards, but I liked what I saw blocking wise, which people are kind of nervous about him with that. Emmanuel Sanders finished 3 for 27 yards, and Antonio Brown did not have a reception. So I mean, he did not. So not much to take from really the Steelers' offense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Final score to that game was 18-13, and it's kind of a weird score, but in favor of the Giants. And this is a game I know you really want to talk about as well as I do, and that was the Bills versus the Colts preseason game, which was today. Dave, give your thoughts on how first-round quarterback E.J. Manuel looked. Final score 44-14 was the final score. How do you think E.J. Manuel looked? 44-20.
Manuel, he looked pretty good. I mean, he came out. Well, first let's talk. I'll just talk about this game real quick.
Okay.
They came out.
Feel free.
Had a good defensive stop. Punted. Were on the 3-yard line. Gave it to Spiller, and within 2 carries, they were on the 33. 30 yards and 2 carries. Spiller looked amazing. He averaged 9 yards a carry at the end on his 4 carries. But Manuel, he looked great. The Bills were on their own 10-yard line with less than 2 minutes left. They believe it exactly. It was 1 minute 50 seconds. Drove down the field, and to cap off that drive, it was a 17-yard touchdown pass to Doran Dickerson. So, I mean, he looked pretty good. I mean, I really am excited. He had 1 rush that went for 24 yards, and in total 3 rushes for 28 yards. So, I'm super excited for Manuel. He scrambled out of the pocket. They did a few read option plays, not anything cold, but I mean, still, I really like the look of him and what he's doing this year.
I thought he looked terrific. I mean, I thought he really looked poised in the pocket. He really didn't get too shaky in there. Didn't really roll out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Great pocket presence. Delivered some really nice throws. I mean, that touchdown to Deron Dickerson was spot on, right through the middle. And I liked seeing that 2-minute offense. I liked seeing him manage that really well with the no huddle. Talk about, though, Jeff Toole, because I know you've mentioned him a lot during the podcast. Jeff Toole looked terrific. He finished with 202 yards and 2 touchdowns.
212 yards, yes.
Just going the stats off my head, so bear with me.
2 touchdowns. One went to Rick Rodgers, undrafted receiver, and the other went to
that
the bum.
No, I was gonna say Bumgardner, but that's a totally different player. I'll pull up the stats right now for the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, who was it? It was.
We're gonna look this up.
Was it DeMarco Sampson?
No, Sampson did that. It wasn't Sampson.
No, who was it?
I got this.
It was Kaufman.
Yeah.
Just remember that play, but he finished with 134.1 passer rating.
Really good.
And no interceptions, neither did Manuel. He only had 4 incomplete passes on 23 attempts. He looked great, so not that anything's going to be affected here. I mean, he's not going to start. He's not going to be the second quarterback, and the only way he's going to be the second quarterback is if they cut Cobb, and they're not going to cut Manuel. So
yeah, Marcus Easley though I thought looked really good. Finished 7 receptions for 94 yards. He's going to make a case to make this roster. And I think if they keep 7, I think that he's at last 7th spot.
Well, he had 7 targets for 7 receptions.
Yeah,
so he looked good.
I mean, I mean, Rick Rodgers had only the 1 catch, but it was a touchdown. He has good size. I think he's going to be a big red zone target. Yeah. So it was good to see him get that touchdown, as well as Robert Woods, the 2nd-round pick, finished 4 receptions for 32 yards. And then Marquise Goodwin, Dave, had the 3rd-round pick, had 2 huge kick returns, and the one for over 100 yards and a touchdown. Dave, talk about Goodwin, his rare speed. He looks really good.
His first kick return, he took it out to the 50, just 1 tackle away, but got taken down. Next time, 107 yards back into the other end zone. Goodwin looks great. Didn't have a reception receiving wise, but definitely still look good returning wise. But one player who I'd have to say is the all-star or the MVP of the game on the defensive side, Chico Alonso, the Bills' 2nd-round pick out of Oregon, middle linebacker. On a couple plays, he just blew up that offensive line and got it right up to the middle of pressure. But the best play of the game, a very great play in the end zone, in the red zone. They passed it to, I believe it was Kobe Fleener over the middle.
Yep. And
he broke that play up perfectly. He had a few pass breakups, and Alonso looks great, very NFL ready, and very excited to have him starting in the middle for the Bills linebackers. Also, Manny Lawson looked good. He play of the day, highlight of the day for him was a tip ball, which ended up being picked off by Credson Butler. And also, Mario Williams had 1 sack in this game, so he's a great leader for the team. So everything on the defensive side looks very good for the Bills.
I definitely agree with you. I mean, we were watching a certain player in the second team was Butler, the cornerback.
Yeah, Butler.
He looked really good, I thought. I mean, really physical player that really was breaking up some nice passes and playing press coverage. I remember the one play was a slant for a first down. He just comes out and whacks it out, tips the ball out of his hands. I thought he looked pretty good and definitely made a case for his roster spot. I think he's a 5-year veteran, so I thought he looked really good as well. I thought that secondary looked really good.
Fun fact for you, 44 is the Bills' franchise record in a preseason game, most points scored.
It was a great game. I thought the whole team looked great.
Oh, yeah.
Spiller averaged 9 yards a carry, 4 for 36. Really good there. I mean, and Fred Jackson also, I like that they got him in, so because you got to have that, you have it balanced, have to have it balanced. But a really good start for Manuel and a brand new Bills team, and I thought the whole Bills first team defense looked terrific. Besides the one play, the touchdown pass to T.Y. Hilton, that was just on Ron Brooks. Some bad coverage there, but even Ron Brooks looked actually pretty decent, I thought.
All right, yeah. So for more, if you want to hear more about this Bills game, you can go to realbillsnow.blogspot.com. Me and my partner Brendan Harrington did a 30-minute review on this. And more on that Eagles game, go to listen to Eagle Eye Focus by Mr. Louis Debe. So
eaglesportstalk.blogspot.com.
So that's gonna do it for this recap week 1. We'll be back on Wednesday, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday to do a preview and other NFL news for week 2 of the preseason. But for now, we'll see you next time.